Hey there, and welcome back to the second half of our introduction into the podcasting world, as well as From Blood and Ash. Just to review, I'm Megan.
And I'm Rachel, and we're Blood, Books, and Binge-Watching. We're two internet friends who met through the amazing Bardic Book Club on Discord.
To sum up, the name of the pod pretty much sums up what we're going to cover in this podcast, and anything involving blood, books, and binge-watching. So we are two spooky bitches who cannot wait to fangirl over some of our favorite classic and recent horror-related media. With that being said, let us pick back up where we left off. Poppy is in some dire straits. She's not doing too hot. If we'll recall, Victor has just been killed in an attack by the Wolven and Dissenters. So very climactic end. So was really proud of us for coming up with the end to that episode.
Yeah, because I mean, the tea is hot. The tea is hot, and they're not really in a good spot right now. That's
Not at all. Not at all. So yeah, let's see. We are so excited to get back to our favorite not couple, Poppy and Hawk. But our girl's not doing so good. So, without any further ado, let us proceed and find out what she's doing. So cue the end game moment when you get 5 years later, except thank God it's not 5 years later. It's only been a week and a half. But, I got that visual in my brain of like week and a half later. And I'm like, okay, so we're jumping. So like, what's been happening since Victor died over a week ago? So Poppy did not attend his funeral, but it wasn't necessarily by her choice. She simply was in a haze between sleep and being in a drug-induced state of consciousness. So she's just kind of hovering in and out, floating on a cloud, not really aware of who she is. So very much muddling down all of her emotions, given that she was so violent. He had to be forcibly restrained. And her father figure died right in front of her. That's a lot to handle. So she's not doing great.
Killed Lord Mazine.
And then she killed Lord Mazine, and she used that grief, the fury, in the best way possible.
She went from 0 to 1,000 real quick.
He hit that switch,
Yeah.
So during her, in and out of consciousness, sleepy haze, she could feel that she was not alone, and she has the faintest memory of Hawk sitting beside her. And it's like, through and through, this man. Also, given the fact that all of that happened, like, she butchered Lord Mazine to bits in front of the Duchess. Remember? Yeah. So, and Hawk was with them. They had that moment of him placing his hand on hers and having that, like, intimate public moment, no matter how, like, small it might have seemed. So it's like, damn. Huh? So that's a signal that maybe he's at least doing okay. He's not under any sort of punishment or anything. Also given that his boss died. So there's that.
They're going to have to reconstruct a little bit.
Just a little bit. So Poppy is really feeling the guilt of Victor's death. Like, if only she hadn't been in the gardens, he wouldn't have been drawn out to go and retrieve her. Then hence they wouldn't have made it back and intercepted in that attack in the way that they had. But she does have that logical side of her brain saying, like, no, that he would have run into battle regardless of where he was and who he was.
Yeah.
So death may have come for him regardless of what impact she had on them. So, it's nice that she still has that small voice in the back of her head that's giving her a little bit of a break and being like, it's not your fault, girl.
Yeah, go easy on yourself.
Yeah. So, but she does, however, wish that she could kill Mazine all over again. As
Me too.
yeah, don't we all? That was just glorious to witness. If only she was like in her more quote right mind or something,
Yeah.
that it was a more consciously motivated rather than a knee jerk reaction murder. But we support ladies who murder. And she does wish so. She wish she could go back kill him along with every other dissenter, and feels no regret for killing him. Which scares her a little bit. As Hawk says, a violent, stunning creature.
Mhm.
He kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. And so Hawk knocks and enters her room and comforts her, telling her that he understands everything that she is feeling. And she believes him. She believes that this is a legitimate, you know, conversation and connection that they're having here. And they hug, and she feels like she said she thinks that it feels like hope, a promise she wouldn't always feel this way.
Oh,
That glimmer of the light at the end of the grief tunnel. And
oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And him also saying, him telling her, don't take on the blame that belongs to others. And I just, I think that, one, that's the first time she's ever heard anything like that. And I just, that's me.
it's like yeah, literally just don't blame yourself. It's okay. And sometimes you need that third party
You
to tell
do.
you that,
You do.
as much as you want to tell yourself as yourself, it's still there. So he has come to get her because the Duchess has summoned her, and word has come from the capital. So we can all kind of guess what that might mean. So she has been summoned to the capital early, which at this point she kind of finds as a relief. So previous to the whole attack at the right, she probably would have been terrified to go early, but at this point it's like anything to get her out of this castle. Like, it's only bad memories, and Hawk exposure therapy attempt is not really going to transfer when it's like this puppy on the trot.
Yeah. This needs a little bit more than a band-aid.
Exactly. We more than good memories here.
No.
So the Duchess subtly reveals that she's kind of always known about the abuse that Poppy has suffered. And Poppy thinks that she may have had to endure similar abuses, being married to the Duke.
Well,
So the Duchess does say, like, we are no longer going to speak of them. They're dead. Let them be dead. Like, and I mean, I love that for them, but it's yet another person that was, beholden to, that restraint that the Duke had on all of them of like,
yeah. They're like
what
not
am I doing?
they're not even acknowledging it. They're just pushing right past it and acting like it didn't happen. And like anyone can kind of relate how that would work in real life, how that would build inside of you and not allow you to fully move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Poppy leaves for the capital tomorrow. So,
The new landscape.
oh yeah, there is no we leave in 2 days time or anything like that. It's like, oh no, tomorrow actually.
Giddy up.
Out of here. So guess who's taking the lead in escorting Poppy to the capital? Oh my gosh,
Me.
Hawk. Whoa, what a world. And he explains that Tawny cannot come with them as much as Poppy wants her to be joining them. Which, I mean, like, yeah, it's your BFF. You want him to come. She's a super big comfort. But Hawk is not willing to risk Poppy's safety by having a distraction of another person to try to look after. And the road is treacherous. So we will find out.
Voice of reason. Voice of reason.
Yep. And I mean, Tawny does agree with him. She's like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm not meant to be out there. Like, I'm meant to be here. So she also does kind of back him up in that regard. And she's honestly scared. she's like, I'm too scared to leave this place. Are you kidding me? Like, what you gotta do is crazy. I don't want to go out there. But, yeah, valid. Werewolves live out there. No, thank you. So Poppy is going to be accompanied by Hawk and a small number of royal guards, and he tells her to leave the Vale. And
But
just
doesn't he say something like, "You're never gonna wear that thing again" or something? I can't remember exactly what the quote is. He's like, "You're taking that off and never putting it back on," or it's some like really moving quote where I'm like, "Fuck yeah, throw it and burn it, throw it in the trash."
absolutely. Oh yeah, he's like, get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like that's also like a double meaning where it's like physically leave the veil, like I never want to see you hiding yourself again, but also on a deeper level, like I don't want to see you hiding yourself again.
leave that part of your life
behind.
behind. Yeah,
Even though they're going to escort her to the capital where she's still going.
right.
So it's like, okay, a little contradictory. It's like, we get what you mean. However, there is still a duty bound here.
Yeah,
As much as we wish that this was like, oh my gosh, yes, freedom. Go do what you want, girlfriend. It's like, no, it's just kind of a momentary reprieve from being stuck in a castle.
yep.
The next day, as they prepare to leave, we meet Hawk's horse named Seti, who is named after the god of war, Theon's horse. So in the last episode, you will remember that that was one of the gods that we told you to keep on the brain noggin. So that is the name of Theon's war horse. So like big time, like important horse. And like as a horse girl matured, uh, I can appreciate a strong steed,
Yeah,
I can't, my brain. Yeah. Uh, so Poppy cannot ride a horse, and because she never learned. Wow, one of her restrictions, wasn't allowed to ride a horse. So she will be riding with Hawk, and it's like, oh my gosh, we just love a paired horseback ride.
uh,
Outlander, anybody?
so romantic.
Mm,
So romantic.
it's delightful. So while she's like, oh my god, I gotta share a thing with Hawk, and it's like, don't you worry, we know what's coming, you don't. So Hawk gives her her dagger that he actually found at the night of the rite. So he went back out after everything was over and purposefully looked for her dagger. And it is also worth noting that I don't think we brought this up, that Victor gave her that dagger. Don't think I emphasized that in the previous episode. So it is like a big, huge deal that she was not able to have that on her. And so him returning that to her is like huge. It's her last reminder.
Yeah,
So the party has arrived, and the group that will be traveling include 2 men that Poppy does not recognize and 6 royal guards. So that'll be 10 people in total. So one of the 2 men that she did not recognize is introduced as Kieran, who, if that name sets off a little alarm bell, that was the gentleman who interrupted them at the very beginning of book 1 or part 1, um, and like called Hawk away for whatever reason. So like now we put face to the mysterious voice and name. Kira knows the road well and arrived from the capital with Hawk. So he has been in Macedonia as long as Hawk has. And he's the one who knocked on the door at the very beginning of part 1 when Hawk and Poppy were having their little one-on-one time at the Red Pearl. And as a descriptor, Kieran has warm beige skin like Tawny, piercing pale blue eyes, and looks to be the same age as Hawk and has dark hair. So, hot. I will say, I'm not usually one for like the pale blue eyes. They freak me out a little bit, just in like the brightness of them, I guess.
yeah.
But everything else, well, love.
He can work it.
I was gonna say, I'm like, we've got some fan art to show later, and it does kind of it leads me back where I'm just like, all right,
Yes.
see it. So the other 2 are Arik, and Phillips, and they are guards. They are like rise guards that Poppy knows. So they depart and are riding along and are getting close to the blood forest. And Poppy realizes just how close, like, her and Hawk's bodies are to each other. And he's got the thumb resting on the hip, making lazy circles, where his hand rests on her hip. And we just, it's just like a little rub, and it's just delightful. And they have slowed down a little bit due to the path getting a little rough and the Barat. What are the Barat, you say? What are they? They are ROUSs. They are rats of unusual size.
Nightmare fuel.
Large rats that feed on whatever they can get. So yeah, just no thing. All set. And to distract them from thinking about the boar-sized rats, Huck asks Poppy, hey, like, reach into my bag. I want you to grab something. She feels around, and her hand lands on a soft, leather-bound book.
What could it be?
It's the diaries! He just he loves that thing so much. He loves it so much. Oh, it's so good. He starts reading from it, asking her about what chapter she's on, and it's wonderful. She is embarrassed almost to hear about it out loud, and he's just loving it and eating it up, and we're eating it up. It's so fun because you would hate that. I would 100% 100% fan.
Absolutely. I'd be like crawling in my skin, riding on this horse for the first time with this guy I barely know, but I like, right? That I'm like, oh, he's hot. Riding on a horse, and he's like, hey, read to me.
It is porn. So they don't really get very far, however, as they've officially come up on the blood forest, and the ground is littered with old bleached bones. Animal and not animal. So Hawk orders them to make camp for the night in the forest, where the craven roam. So I can't wait to catch some Z's camping here personally.
Yeah, it's great spot for a camp out. It's very, very relaxing.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. And we get a beautiful kind of description of Hawk here from Poppy's point of view. And it's really quite dreamy.
Yeah. Mentioning that she notices that there are silvery streaks of moonlight when Hawk signals to the group. And I feel like I could be making this up, but I do feel like that's referenced at least one other time. That moonlight tends to appear when Hawk is focused on. And I think in a very poetic way, it could be representative of his personality, illuminating the darkness that her life has been. So just on my my romantic side, just swoon.
Yeah, he's her North Star, That's right. Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. So as they prepare to go to sleep, Hawk comes and lays down next to Poppy. The scandal.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's just to keep warm, though.
Is that?
It's just all body heat. Just body heat. And Poppy comments on just how inappropriate it is. There's that word again.
Inappropriate.
As they're sleeping so close to each other, big spoon, little spoon style. And they banter back and forth, and she admits that she is indeed terrified of her ascension and meeting the gods. And I mean, like, who wouldn't be? Understandable.
No.
And it's a very vulnerable secret that she's been battling with internally, and she's only just shared it with Victor, literally, moments before his death?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal for her to share that. So they're just kind of connecting their relationship, like, just yet again on another level. And Hawk notices how tense she is, so no wonder she doesn't sleep well normally. And he says, I bet I can get you relaxed enough that you sleep like you're on a cloud basking in the sun. And it's like, how would how would you do that, Hawk? How would you possibly make someone be able to sleep so well and saying that in such a just seductive voice? What?
I mean, yeah, that's speaking quite highly of yourself.
Hawk proceeds to prove that he knows where the clit is and gives Poppy her first orgasm. It is over the pants, as just a small detail. So we have yet to like do skin to skin contact, if you realize. Besides kissing, there's kissing.
Yeah.
But it is hot, and he makes a huge emphasis of consent, and which makes it so much hotter. Like every step of the way, he's like, "You tell me when I will hands off." Like it is just so choice. It's just great.
Yeah.
Because yeah, Poppy makes yet again a choice for herself. And it's funny that the majority of these choices, if not all of them, do center around her trying to get with Hawk. But you know what? Girl's gonna make her choice on what she wants. And what she wants at him, and hell yeah.
That's such like an important facet, I think, to her, that out of all of the decisions she's making the decisions over her sexuality. And as a woman, that is like such a big deal. As anyone, as anyone, but I just think that she's just such a girl boss for that.
Hell yes. And she's also not only making this choice for herself, but she's also putting her needs over the gods because, like, she's had this back and forth of, at what level is she found unworthy and what would she have to do in order to be found unworthy. And so this is the first official, like, all right, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That she's kind of given. And these pressures of the role that have been forced upon her for so long. So Hawk being anything but forceful in this moment is also just another level of like, he's so good with her in like in the best way possible I can describe it. And so she finishes, falls asleep, knowing he was right, but he would never give him the satisfaction of hearing. And it's like, oh hell yeah. And it's worth noting that this is Poppy's first time, and it was really hot as far as first time with a sexual experience to this level. But it is in the blood forest with the blood with the craven, and you would think it wouldn't be hot,
But it is.
somehow JLA made it hot.
Yeah.
And once again, we thank you for it. Thank you, JLA. The next morning, they are getting ready to move out, and Hawk thanks Poppy for trusting him last night, which is like, Jesus Christ, stop giving me more reasons to love you.
Right.
You've done it. You were there.
Yeah.
We've reached that point. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need to do anymore. So Hawk thanks Poppy for trusting him, and they're standing very close to each other. As if they aren't among like the company of other guards, other people. They're like having that like almost chest to stomach moment because, height differential. And it's like, once again, be less obvious. It's so funny to me that constantly, time and time again, we're faced with that. Like, oh yeah, no, totally, you're totally alone right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's not like they're just out of earshot.
Yeah. Because lo and behold, Kieran has indeed been watching them because they're just right there. And he doesn't look super happy. He looks a little concerned, a little upset. And the next day, they're on the road. And what do you know? They're attacked by barats. That thing that they mentioned, like, oh yeah, we got to watch out for those. Here they come. So a fight ensues. And then mid-fight, they notice that the mist is coming. And that can only mean the Craven are coming. And they indeed do come around. So without any other choice, the traveling party is forced to fight, and Poppy wields her dagger. So at some point during the fight, Hawk looks over at her, smirking with that damn motherfucking dimple, and comments on how he finds watching Poppy fight incredibly arousing. She replies, so inappropriate. And like, I swear we should keep a counter. I swear.
Counter been
We
appropriate.
gotta keep a counter.
Yeah.
After the attack, 5 of them are left standing. One of the royal guards named Eric has been mortally wounded, and Poppy uses her gift to relieve his pain as he dies. So, yet again, there is another reveal that the rumors are true and Poppy has the touch. So, that's yet another term for her gift. But once again, like, no self-preservation. She puts the needs of others in their probably most vulnerable time of need and considers them before her own safety. And yet again, reveals something else about herself that's supposed to be like super duper uber secret.
Yeah, she just gives it away. She's just like, here, let me give this to you.
Yeah. Everyone else's needs above hers and people pleaser. I feel you, girl.
I know. Coming out of my people pleasing era, I'm like, oh, I'm reading about myself. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. We bring that up in the previous episode. Didn't want to knock it out of didn't want to go soup that hard the first time, but 100%.
Yeah.
The people pleasing aspect of Poppy is 100% what also drew me to her. So Poppy notices that Hawk has kind of been ignoring her and imagine that he might be upset that she kept her gift hidden from him. They had what he thought and she thought was a very good trust between the two of them. It to the point that he rubbed one out for her. And then she reveals something that she was hiding. So,
But like, that's a big secret. That's a big secret. Like, dog, you're going to have to find the clip more than one time for me to tell you that.
Very true. Absolutely true. We need more than this. Come on. The pants. Come on now. So the party has now arrived in New Haven, their kind of stopover point. And as they enter the town, the children of the village are watching them almost in awe. And Poppy says, quote, they behave as if royalty is among them. But Kieran says that they just don't get many visitors here. So they're probably just in awe of the company, I guess.
And my first thought is, and Night Shyamalan's The Village. That's where I envision they're at.
So I get there, everyone's just staring at them like, who are you? And I mean, also, I imagine that at least just from Hawk and Kieran alone, 2 of probably the hottest men that any of these people are going to see in their whole lives. A lot of it does include children, and the children aren't going to think that way. Either way.
Right.
I mean, hey, it's people with weapons and suits and armor and all that kind of stuff. So
it does out the gate, like them coming into that village, it does just give off a very like eerie, unsettling, unspoken weirdness.
Yeah, it's definitely something's up. So after arriving at the Haven Keep, they meet a couple of guards named Delano and Elijah. So Kieran is clearly very happy and excited to see these men, and they are definitely familiar with each other, definitely friendly. Unfortunately, not romantically friendly. No one kisses. Boo. A woman named Magda appears to help Poppy find her room and get food, and almost kind of like bows to them, but then is like, no, I'm just off balance. I'm super pregnant. Yes, like, yeah, sure. I believe you.
I don't respect you that much. My equilibrium's off.
I'm clumsy enough not pregnant, so I feel it.
Yeah.
And this place, like we've said, it definitely feels odd. Further proved by there is no lord or lady actually staying in the keep, so that kind of weird. There also don't appear to be any ascended, and Hawk is relaxed, as if he's not concerned for her safety being outside the rise. His guard is not up when it should be at its most.
You have her outside of Macedonia. You need to be on full watchdog alert.
Exactly. You are the Secret Service. Get on your shit.
Yeah.
And concerning. So she goes and takes a bath, and Hawk comes to her room afterwards. And they banter immediately, because they just do that. If you haven't caught that yet, they love to banter. and they talk about Poppy's gift, and she explains how it works to Hawk. So he's very open and accepting of her and continues to tell her how strong she is. And it's just like not what she was expecting whatsoever. Like she was expecting him to be so upset, to be mad that she hid this from him. Because, I mean, to be fair, she's only ever been reprimanded for literally everything and anything she's ever done in her life.
Yeah.
So, of course, she would default to thinking that. And then he gives her a forehead kiss. That is so cute.
Because it's so intimate. It's so like
Yeah.
just gentle, you know.
Once again, he's just gentle and comforting with her. It's adorable. And Poppy begins thinking about what Hawk means to her, and she decides that, yes, she can trust him with her life. And that's big deal, because I'm pretty sure the only other person she ever did that with was Victor.
And Tawny, maybe. Yeah.
Tawny, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hawk says he needs to leave because she is looking at him a certain way and that she doesn't fully understand the look that she is giving him.
Having weird feelings in my tummy.
Yeah, she's giving him some fuck me eyes, and he's trying to do the right thing and being like, no, I shouldn't do this. This is not right. It's not the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But she asks if he will stay the night with her. And we're just like, please do it. Please do it. Please do it. Because the chapter ends and we're like, please do it. And then you turn the page and the next chapter starts. And Hawk turns towards her and says that if he stays in this room with her, he will be on her in 10 seconds flat.
And see what
he has controlled himself so far, but in a bed, all bets are off. Because she wants to... Oh, he says, quote, I'm not just going to hold you. I won't stop at kissing you. My fingers won't be the only thing inside you. My need for you is far too great, Poppy. If I stay, you will not walk out this door the maiden.
Oh. Now, chicka wow.
And he says that with the low, rumbly, dark voice and just, And her reply, I know.
I know. Yes, girl.
Yes. He knows what she wants. So do we. And he, as he says, 10 seconds flat. She undoes her robe and lets it fall to the floor around her feet. And Hawk just takes a second, actually. I lied. Takes a second and takes her all in. So all of her curves, all of her dips, all of her shadows, all of her stretch marks, all of her scars. The body inclusivity is amazing.
Got me thirsty.
Mm-hmm. So after drinking her in, he moves on her with a quickness like the Ascended, which superhuman speed, and takes her into his arms. We get mention of a monthly aid because, yes, responsible sex, birth control, absolutely. And Hawk kisses her down her chest and stomach and then between her legs, and he looks at her and says, remember the first page of Miss Willa's diary? And proceeds to eat her out. Like I said, we love the diary so much. Like, girl dinner. And more like Hawk's dinner. And so she finishes, and he says that she tastes like honeydew, just like he thought. And to that we say, cheers.
No.
Cheers. So this was her first sexual encounter, and he is giving her only the goods. He hovers over her and tells her to open her eyes because he wants her to touch him and for her to see what it does to him. I don't think we could scream any louder without generating 911 calls.
Yeah.
And so she worries about what to do because obviously she's never done this before. She's never seen a dick before. So Hawk assures her there's nothing that she could do wrong. And let's take a second because in reality, do we really think he's saying that to be sweet?
Question one.
anyone who's been with a man knows that you just really have to look at it
Yeah.
and the job's done.
Well,
So I'm sure that it's written to be interpreted one way. The reality of it does seep through a little bit.
for the sake of the plot, we're gonna go goo goo gaga all over it.
Exactly. So after a little foreplay, he asks if she's ready. And she says yes. Consent all the time. And he takes it slow because it is our first time. So they've got the whole moment of like, okay, it stings, let's adjust, and then we'll get going. And she actually begins to move, and then he moves with her, and it's hot, and it's so sweet and tender and gentle and juicy. Sorry. And after they both finish, he glides his mouth and teeth over the side of her throat, and he kisses her and asks her to promise not to forget this.
Wow.
You want to read that quote?
Yes, he says, no matter what happens tomorrow, the next day, next week, you won't forget this. Forget this was real.
Yeah. And honestly, how could you? How could you forget that that was real? I mean, it's not obviously, it was our first time. So it's like, it wasn't, it was mind blowing in that sense. But like, bro, I'm forgetting this ever. Are you kidding? Oh my God.
I wasn't even in the room. I had forgotten that.
Yeah. Surreal. And it's just like, yeah, no problem, bro. Not forgetting. That is core memory up here. So she promises, I won't forget. Next chapter, Poppy and Hawk have fallen asleep cuddling, and a soft knock wakes them up. So Hawk has been called out and says he'll be right back. Thankfully, this is not that kind of a horror movie or horror book because,
Yeah, I'd be like,
we'll be right back. I just think of Scream every time when he said that. I'm like, no, don't say that. Wait, why are you saying that? Don't say that. No.
she'll definitely I'm always your buddy sister.
And Poppy thinks and decides that she will actually not be going back to being the maiden. She's not going to ascend. So she has made that decision, and she says, not going to do it.
Yeah.
With the first light coming through the windows, she decides to get dressed and ready for the day. After she's dressed, a knock comes to the door again, but this time it's Phillips. And he says something about this place not being right, because as we kind of picked up on earlier, there's been no evidence of any lord or lady. There's no trace of any ascended. And he's suspicious of Kieran because he has never seen him before, essentially seeing. So it's like, who is this bro? Who's this guy? Like, we don't know who this man is. And Phillips believes that they may be in danger. So he is very suspicious of Kieran and the rest of the group that they've met up with here. Because too many things are not adding up. Like, so how did Hawk rise through the ranks of the Royal Guard so quickly? What, that was in a matter of a week? Probably, if that. And why did he recommend Kieran, a stranger, to accompany them? If they both arrived at the same time without knowing each other prior or something, like, why would he want him here? And he believes this is a trap. It's a trap. Yeah. And Poppy may not know Kieran, but she's like, I know Hawk. I trust Hawk. If Hawk trusts Kieran, I trust Kieran. And it's like, yeah, that's logical to me. So it's like, well, she's like, well,
legitimately, I'm right there with her because, to be so honest, up to this point in the book, I did not even question this stuff until Phillips brought it up. I was like, oh, wait, I've been so blinded by Hawk's beautifulness that I didn't even question. I didn't even think to ask.
Yeah, it's, but given that that Poppy trusts Hawk, she trusts Kieran, and now is thinking, well, what if Phillips is secretly a dissenter and he's here to lure me out? And it's like, that's panicky. Like she thinks everyone is after her but Hawk. Like, she trusts Hawk. Like, that is her only source of trust on this trip. And he is unfortunately not present at the moment. So Poppy agrees to go with him because she's like, okay, what to do? If he's going to attack me, I need to be around people in public. And my God, if that isn't so fucking real as a woman.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And Phillips, because Phillips is too well trained for her to get the upper hand here. So she was able to fight off that stranger in part 1 because she had a little bit of the upper hand. She had the surprise. Phillips knows that she knows how to handle herself now, so he'll be prepared for her to attack him. And she reaches out with her gift and senses fear from him. And they start to leave the room when Kieran exits the room next door and begins questioning, like, where are you going? Why are you just taking her out of her room?
Yeah.
Before she can make a move and try to, like, get over to him because she trusts Kieran via trusting Hawk, she tries to make a move, but then Phillips grabs her by the arm and pulls her back and then stabs Kieran and essentially guts him.
And now we're like, who's friends with who?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you definitely don't trust him.
Yeah.
Gutted him. What the action?
Escalated really quickly.
Yeah, very much so. Very much. And Kieran looks at them and says in a low, inhuman growl, "You really shouldn't have done that at all." And he changes because Kieran is a woman. What the fuck? The extinct woman that technically came back in part 1, but like, oh my God.
But she has been traveling with one. She has had one near her.
Absolutely insane. Because we knew that they look like mortals, but like, what? This out of left field for me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I did not.
But
yeah.
What?
Stop functioning. I was like, I don't.
Yeah. So, yeah. So he's a woman, and Phillips and Poppy begin to run for the stables, and they're now being chased by Kieran, who we didn't really go through and describe what starts to happen to him.
We
starts to transform. So he kind of, his bones start to grow and reset, and it's described it kind of sounds painful, I gotta say.
Oh my God, I know.
It sounds really terrible. It's
same time.
I kind of envisioned it being like American Werewolf in London.
So yeah,
where it's like, but not as slow as that.
Yeah.
And so Kieran transforms into a wolf, and I think they go more wolf like Twilight. Bella, where have you been? Loca wolf.
I think so too.
Which I'm totally fine with because cuddly cute wolf, but it's huge and also murderous and can kill you. But he's friend-shaped and fuzzy, so I want to pet him.
Can I just book her?
Yeah, exactly. And so they start to run for the stables. Kieran is chasing them, and Poppy immediately is worrying for Hawk's safety. Like, where is he? Did Kieran already, like, kill him?
Kill them, yeah.
Because Kieran is clearly just on the rampage now and is going to kill them all. And then they start to hear more howls. So there are more Wolven. And it's like, oh, good Lord. Oh, no. So they do make it to the stables, and Phillips and the other 2 guards barricade the door to try to buy them time to escape. It doesn't really work. Poppy asks if anyone has seen Hawk, because she's not leaving without him. Like, he is top mind for her. Like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And then a male answers her from the shadows, and he says, "I've seen him." And it's like, who the fuck are you? This is the same man who killed Rylan. The same one that she so totally fucked up and fought off. And he says, "Told you I'd be seeing you again." But now it's worth mentioning that he is also missing a hand, and Poppy did not cut off his hand. So it's like, something happened since last we saw him. So the doors burst open, and Hawk walks through them. And it's like, oh, fuck, yes, hooray, good. The daylight on top is here. Thank fucking God.
Took you long enough.
Seriously, this man had such a habit of just disappearing and then appearing at, like, either just the right or just delayed wrong time. Like, crazy. And Poppy starts to walk towards him, but Phillips grabs her again. And it's like, okay, stop grabbing at her, okay? And tells her to stay back away from him. But she struggles with him. And then all of a sudden, Phillips there's an impact. And Phillips is now pinned to a board behind him with an arrow through his mouth. So Phillips is now dead. Out of nowhere. It was just like, boom, done. Done. And one by one, the other two guards are killed by Delano. And all these men are Wolven. So Kieran, Delano, and Elijah are all Wolven. And Poppy is on her knees trying to contemplate just what the fuck is happening and tries to feel with her gift for Hawk, but doesn't feel anything because he's blocking her.
Which is first.
Yeah, no one's ever done that before. She didn't even know that was possible. The Wolven who killed Rylan is named Jericho. Oh, so Jericho is also Wolven, and he is there. And he begs Hawk to let him kill Poppy and dismember her corpse and do terrible things with her corpse. And it's like, no. Granted, Hawk does say if he touches her, he'll lose his other hand. They need her alive.
This sadistic fuck.
What? But also, what does Hawk mean they need her alive? So he's a part of this. So they are all in cahoots. Oh no.
Rip my heart out. I'm not.
Yeah, the absolute devastation of this. You've read through all SJM, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna do spoilers for Crescent City. Crescent City.
Yeah.
Spoilers, 3, 2, 1. This reminded me so much of the moment that Bryce sees Hawk making the drug deal.
Yeah.
When it's like she's going and she's like, I have to help, I have to do something, and then it's just like the last thing that you would think.
Yeah.
It's just a gut punch. And it's also similarly the day after they had sex. So
yeah.
Great.
I'm right there with you on it.
Yeah. Anyway, so we also get implied that Hawk cut off Jericho's other hand because he says, if you touch her, you'll lose your other hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. He's already paid for touching her once. So clearly Hawk he's got some deep violent feelings for her as well. And Jericho's just an overall fucking psycho. We pick up chapter 35. Hawk says that he needs to clean up the mess they just made and that him and Poppy need to have a discussion. They are all dissenters and they are all working against the Ascended. So this has been like a super long con. The plan begins to be revealed where Ryland was killed to make the opening for Hawk. So he could get close to her. Like, damn.
Yeah.
Gut punch.
It's like really big full circle moment. Like starting to feel the pieces fall into place.
Yep. Because he was right there.
Yeah.
Immediately after they were replaced. And wouldn't you know, Hawk was sent by the Dark One to do just this. So he is an agent of the Dark One, the evil person.
They are working together.
Yep. This has been in the works for a while. And Commander Jensen Ackles. Now I'm just going to picture Commander Jensen. Okay. That's what it is now. I don't know what he looks like in the book or in the description, if he even got one. Now he looks like Jensen Ackles. So he was even in on it. And Hawk has been watching her as long as she's been watching him. But we also kind of knew that part already.
Yeah.
But he was kind of watching her with more intent than just kind of gazing at her, you know. It was more of an observation and like, I'm watching you kind of deal and being like, oh my God, I'm making eyes at you. And so was that why Hawk wasn't there the night of the rite? So she begins to question that. Like, did he play a part in that? Did he know that that attack was going to happen? And is that why he wasn't there when Victor was killed? You know, is that why he was a second too late? And before he can try to explain himself any further, Poppy simply erupts. She has a habit of doing this, we're finding. Which, I mean, again, fully understandable. She throws the dagger at his chest, which he catches by the blade as he did before. It's just as hot as before, but in a more conflicting way where we hate him, but it's still hot. But Poppy has kind of anticipated this move because she's an observant girl, and she instead reaches for a fallen sword to defend herself with. But she is tackled to the ground and fights to get free, which she does. And in trying to make for an escape, Hawk grabs her again and says that she's so violent, and it still turns him on. And it's not hot anymore. As much as I want to think it's hot, it's not hot because he's a traitor. We don't like traitors.
I know.
I'm like, I don't want to be attracted to it, but it's... And Poppy and Hawk roll around, and we wish it was the sexy kind. Unfortunately, it's not. But Hawk still continues to make comments about how he finds all of this very sexy, which is makes her more mad. What? This man has the most twisted sense of, like, turn-ons I think I've ever read. And I mean, I love it. It's very
struggling for your life. It's so hot.
Fight me in but it's a weird, it gets very bad very quickly. So JLA is good at like tiptoeing the line where it's simply like, no, I'm just subduing you. I'm not trying to like fight. He's not trying to fight her. He's just trying to restrain her as she fights him. So there's no steps that are taken past that, which is why it remains kind of hot. Worth pointing out there. Amongst all of their wrestling, we notice that Delano, Elijah, and Kieran are talking about how surprising it is that the maiden is throwing down like this. And it's impressive and surprising, but they won't intervene because it's just too entertaining. Like,
yeah, that's the point where I almost could not finish this book, and I'm not even kidding, because for starters, this is still book one, and what I know is a huge series. So I was like, Poppy has been through so much in this book, this first book, and now she, like, the one person that she trusted lied to her about everything, and now these associates are saying they won't intervene because it's too entertaining. And it's like maddening.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like the fact that she is fighting for her life.
Yeah.
Like, granted, not that her life is in immediate danger, but it is at the same time. And like, they're just making a joke of it. Like, oh yeah, winning great, huh?
At this point now, for us as readers, now we're like, well, we don't really know Hawk either. So like, where is this going to lead to?
Yeah. So as Hawk has her pinned, she kind of takes a closer look at his face and his teeth and the two sharp canines that he always managed to hide, but that she clearly definitely felt grazing her neck and lips at times. Hawk is an Atlantean. What the actual fuck? I don't know. I don't even think I was able to fully process this.
I still hadn't fully processed like 2 chapters ago. So yeah, no, we're fighting for our life. We're fighting for our life.
Oh my God. I was simply shocked. There was no other way to describe it. I was just like, well, didn't see that one coming.
At all.
Okay.
At all.
Because yeah, in previous sexy scenes and things, there had been mention of like fangs grazing the neck, or not even fangs, but just like a sharper prick or something like that. But we didn't want to make note of it given what was coming. Because reading back, it's like, yeah, it's obvious. Mm-hmm. It's the clues are just right there. But either way, a shock upon the first read.
Absolutely.
So after this is noticed, she is finally subdued and escorted to a cell in the dungeons, and she comes to terms with what just happened. She slept with an Atlantean, like the ultimate enemy.
I feel like that needs to be on a t-shirt.
Like,
I slept with an alien.
and all I got was this dumb t-shirt. I didn't even get it fit. Incredible. Selena brings her food and she questions if it's poisoned. He says, if the prince wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. And, he's got a point. Hawk has come to visit. It's time to play everybody's favorite game. Time to confront the Atlantean. Hey! Hawk and Poppy compare just how bad the Atlanteans are compared to Ascended. The Ascended, who force women to undergo beatings when made to feel made to feel inferior. They're truly a beacon of goodness in the world. So yes, tell it like it is, Hawk. Like, at this point, he is verbally smacking her with the facts of reality. Like, just look from the outside looking in. You really think the Ascended are that good? Like, come on.
Right. Right.
So they kind of have this, like, who's worse battle off a little bit. And Hawk reveals that he found out what the Duke would do to her. And his reason as why he was able to find this out is he just says, I can be very compelling. And I mean, those eyes alone,
Yeah.
whatever he wants me to do,
I will do.
Absolutely. It's also revealed that he's the one that killed the Duke. So, you know how the cane was right through the heart? That was very overpowered. That was all Hawk. And, like, why, oh, why would Hawk have killed the Duke in such a brutal and symbolic manner? It couldn't be that he cares for Poppy. Couldn't be. Not at all. Moving on from that inner thought, Hawk realizes that Poppy is injured and she objects to him touching her, which he responds, you had no problem with me touching you last night. It's like,
he's not wrong, even though she's mad.
Yeah, literally. Like, okay, yes, but also different. Don't do that. Like, manipulative bullshit, and we don't like that. And Poppy tells him, like, no, that was a mistake, which it's like one of the best things I guess you can say in that scenario. But no, but also understandable.
Yeah.
Of course it was a mistake. Yeah, totally. And, he did lie to her about pretty much everything having to do with their relationship. So, yeah, I would also say it was a mistake. But not like the real mistake, but like give him that reason.
Yeah.
The goal of capturing Poppy is to use her as a bargaining chip with the queen because she is the favored maiden. So once again, Poppy has just landed into yet another scenario where she is simply a pawn in someone else's game. Like, the girl cannot catch a fucking break. Rutho, he wants to heal Poppy's wounds because he has noticed that she got pretty badly injured along her ribs with a slice from the sword as they were in their struggle. So he just simply wants to heal her, and like, she does not need to be dying on them. He does not want her mistreated, does not want her dying. And Poppy accepts that she has fallen for him. She's like, yeah, I fell for him pretty bad. And now look at where she is. And she asks him if what they felt was true. And it's heartbreaking because it was like her first true outlet, her first true friendship, relationship, all that. And it was a lie.
When he asked her, he said, remember, this is real.
Yeah, this is what he was talking about. Poppy is in her own mind as Hawk tends to her wounds and exposing, just the majority of her torso. Her thoughts drift to last night, how she had shown him the most sensitive parts of her physically, and he had lied about literally everything else. So why not the way that he felt about her body? Because given the stupid treatment and verbal harassment from the Duke about how tragic it was about her face and how she wasn't beautiful and how she was ugly. Now, all of that negative self-talk starts to resurface, and she starts talking about just just how she feels about her own body and her the way she looks, and it's just so oh God, I feel it so hard.
And too, yeah, absolutely. It's like she had built so much trust around Hawk, right? Like he led her to explore so many facets of herself that she'd never tapped into. So dealing with everything that she had her entire life, where she's just constantly berated, and these people that physically exist also become her subconscious. So even though the Duke and the Duchess were physical people, they're also very representative of the voices that weave themselves into their head. And that's just such a relatable element, right? When you are setting these unreachable standards for yourself by society, and you, like in Poppy's case, she clings on to Hawk, that's this one little light, and then it's all coming shattering down. So all of those voices just come right back at us. So I felt this part very, very deeply.
Yeah, me too. It's really tough because yeah, she's already at a low enough point, only for her brain to then come back and resurface all of that negativity along with it. It's like, please stop. Our poor girl. Want to give her the biggest hug. Hawk explains that the Craven are indeed a product of the Atlanteans. It's their fault, along with what has become of their land, her as well as the two of them. So it's kind of the root of a lot of the things going on. Apparently, he says it all started with an incredibly desperate, foolish act of love many centuries before the War of Two Kings. Poppy says that she knows the history. Hawk says, but do you know the true history? And he objects that she knows the history the Ascended have altered and convinced them to believe. So we are about to get smacked with a big old heaping pile of lore.
Me lore.
So much lore. So stick with us here. We're gonna break this down as best we can and hang on tight. So, sure. To start, we pick up with the tale of Malek and Isbeth. King Malek fell in love with a mortal woman named Isbeth when she was mortally wounded either by poisoning by Queen Iluana or stabbed by a jilted lover of the king. He committed the forbidden act of ascending her in order to save her life. So King Malek ascended Isbeth in order to save her life. And Isbeth was the first to receive the ascension and became the first vampire. So we will learn more about vampires in a moment. Malek drank from her to the point where she was near death and then shared his blood with her. So that is how a vampire is made. So immediately, Poppy internally rejects this history, and she knows that it's all lies. But Hawk explains that Atlanteans go through the culling when they come of age. Bit more information on the culling is Atlanteans come of age and their fangs develop, as well as change in other ways that are yet to be revealed. They age slower than mortals and can live for thousands of years. How old are you? 17. How long have you been?
You bet 17.
A while.
Wild.
So Hawk is over 200 years old, and we prefer that, actually.
Well experienced and well traveled.
Mm-hmm. We like our men over 200 in this place. On this podcast, we like them over 200. Well, the Atlanteans and King Malek created the vampire. They can still walk in sunlight. So the Atlanteans have essentially all the powers that these vampire do. And the vampire are the Ascended, if you have not kind of picked that up. So we'll connect this a little bit more as we go. So the vampires cannot walk in sunlight and require to live off blood. Wow. So a creature is called a vampire and can't walk in daylight. We have vampires. Not only do we have werewolves, we got motherfucking vampires too.
Darks. Licking their feet and screaming.
Let's go. Mm. I swear, the Twilight to From Blood and Ash pipeline,
Oh yeah, 100%.
it's a straight line, actually.
100%. And now at this point, I'm like, where the hell you been, Loco? Every
For real. Where the hell have you been, Loca? I'm so happy we eventually did that or came across this. Not even came across this. Worth taking a moment to shout out to Carol and Vero in the BBC because they are the ones, our den mothers, who started our little mini sect of a book club within the Greater Bardic Book Club and got a group of us on this, reading journey. And they've done incredible work in watching us flail and react and
they are mothers. They are dead mothers. And I think that we're at like, I'm serious. I think there's like 25 people and growing. I think that we're in the 20s.
That's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's all just this one. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. We love everybody in there. So back to the book. As far as Poppy is concerned, the Ascended don't walk in the daylight because the gods don't. But who told her that? Oh, that's right. The Ascended told her that.
Yeah.
It's weird. And the Ascended also need to feed off blood to survive. So, a breakdown of Atlanteans and vampires. Atlanteans do not feed off mortals, but other Atlanteans. And they can use their blood to heal mortals, but without turning them into anything. So, if we remember that it used to be, or Poppy was told by the Ascended, that if an Atlantean fights you, you will be turned into a craven. That is incorrect. If you, drink an Atlantean's blood, if they bite you, you are not going to turn into anything. The only thing that's going to happen is you drink an Atlantean's blood and you're healed, like your wounds are healed. Atlanteans actually don't even create the craven. The vampires create the craven. And like I said, the vampires are the Ascended. So the Atlanteans just call the Ascended vampires. So just making that differentiator. So moving forward, we're going to call the Ascended vampires. I think that's the best course of action here because it's going to help if we don't interchange them. But we will still talk about the Ascension because that act is still important here. Because vampires cannot make other vampires. So therefore, the Ascension is a lie. Because supposedly you look upon the gods, you drink the gods' blood, you turn into an Ascended. That's incorrect, actually.
It's just all tumbling down.
Yep. In order to complete the Ascension, the vampires need to be using a captured Atlantean. Otherwise, they would just create a craven. So if it worked that it was the vampires, or quote, Ascended, creating other vampires during the Ascension, that wouldn't actually happen. The vampires would just be creating more craven. So we got a bunch of different monsters of the week in here.
Crazy town.
As we go forward in the plot, it will start making more sense, I promise. I know it's a whole lot, and let me tell you, breaking it all down, woo,
it's like opening a new part of your brain.
For real. I didn't know. I had no idea of my capabilities. Back to the lore. So after King Malek ascended Isbeth, he made the act of ascension legal. And more vampires were created and succumbed to their bloodlust. So once a vampire is turned, they go into like an extreme bloodlust and just want to kill anything that they can get their hands on, pretty much. So the more vampires that are created, the more craven are created. So if you've got all these vampires running around that just crave blood and are biting all over the place, all of these craven are going to get created. So no wonder there's this plague of craven and, increased death in the kingdom of Solus, So the Queen of Atlantia, Queen Iluana. So the Queen of Atlantia is the Queen Iluana. She made ascension illegal again. and ordered all the vampires to be destroyed. So, good move on making it illegal, because that's dangerous. However, also commit genocide. Uh, uh, but that's one thing to think about. The vampires revolted, obviously. So clearly because obviously they still have a consciousness about them. They're not like the Craven, which are, mindless beasts, if you will. They're, thinking beings. So they're just like, you want to just wipe us all out? Not having that. And so this was the true start of the War of Two Kings. That's been brought up kind of time and time again in the book. King Malek was eventually overthrown and divorced. I'm taking the and exiled. Queen Iolana remarried a man, King Daenir, and they ended the war. After the war went back to New York. I'm being alive. So after the war, King Malek and Isbeth disappeared, and the vampires, the Ascended, became the rulers of the remaining lands, and they crowned themselves King Jalara and Queen Ileana.
Wow.
Say. And so became the Kingdom of Solace. So that was the reality of how that all started. They, the Ascended, the vampire, proclaimed themselves the true gods in place of the Atlanteans' true gods, who in reality actually remain asleep. And the vampire Ascended rewrote history. So just holy shit.
Yeah. Everything that we learned in this book and had constructed just completely dissolved.
Yeah. So Malek just dipped after he lost. He's like, okay, no, I'm leaving, actually. And he took his lady and they left. And then that just left the vampire to be like, well, I guess this is ours now. And we're just gonna tell lies forever.
Yep.
So like we were talking about cult mentalities and all that. Ding, ding, ding.
They really had a fresh slate to mold however they wanted to.
Yep. Absolutely. So, wow, it's almost like another parallel of current day where it's like, wow, don't believe everything you hear from the source of said information all the time if they're not reliable. Anyway, the vampires have fooled the entire kingdom for centuries. So where are the second and third sons and daughters really taken then? Because did you forget about them? I kind of did for a minute.
Because we don't ever see them.
Yeah, they just after the right. They're just
go.
So yeah, no one sees them, and the vampires need a food source. So to sustain their food source, they created a religion around it. So this way, they had a steady supply of blood bags to feed off of for all of these centuries. Evil. Evil, evil, evil. The Ascended are so fucking evil.
They're
vampires. God. Poppy's reality is crumbling around her. Like, just one after the other after the other. It's like, oh, what's the music video? I can't remember the song now, but it was directed by the same guys who directed Everything Everywhere All at Once. Turned Down for What? Have you ever seen the music video for Turned Down for What?
Yeah.
So it follows literally the people dancing, and they fall one floor to the next floor to the next floor, and it feels like that's what is happening to Poppy. It's just floor after layer after layer after layer of like just everything is a lot. And it's also just like a double whammy of just, so not only is her life a lie, but all of these years that she has spent in torment and all of this were just to end up for what? So that she would go through the right and then be killed like everybody else. Like, what was the point? I can't even imagine trying to contemplate all of that.
Having no sense of self, and the bit of a sense of self you have is that you are literally existing for slaughter.
Yeah. Absolutely terrible. And so Poppy tries to make a move against Hawk, because why not? But he pins her, and he admits that neither him nor Kieran and nor the others played a part in Victor's death or what happened during the rite. So it appears that the dissenters and those that attacked the rite were a small group of them, that they did not go under any sort of orders from anybody. But he does not deny the fact that he has killed people in the past and killed things in the past. Those who attacked the rite were dissenters. They were supporters of the Dark One, but just because they follow him does not mean that they're led by him. And Poppy continues struggling, and Hawk tells her that she needs to understand that there's no way out of this. Like, she belongs to him. She's not getting away. To which she replies, "Don't you mean I belong to the Dark One?" And he says, "I meant what I said, princess." Okay, cryptic conversation there.
Yeah.
So she calls him a monster, and he agrees, but he was not born that way. He was in fact made. And now we're about to get even more traumatic, awful lore, which I suppose I can put up another trigger warning here
Yeah.
for some, heavy torture related stuff and assault related stuff. So he recalls the scar on his thigh that Poppy had briefly seen the other night when they had their sex. And he tells her that it's not a scar, but in fact a brand of the royal crest. That's not normal for the royal guard, especially not being on his upper inner thigh. So what had happened was Hawk was held in the dungeons and used to ascend people for years, meaning he was forced to give his blood, but also be fed upon like cattle. Like, the man was a prisoner and a slave to who knows a number of people that came to use him and abuse him to turn people into vampires. Devastating. And
Because like just to put that into perspective, like being bled out and fed on and not dying like for that period of time. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
it's awful. It's so awful. And because he wasn't used for just food, but, quote, all kinds of entertainment. And I'm sure that you can
Imagine.
put two and two together as to what that means. So Queen Ileana branded him and kept him as a prisoner and slave. And it's truly awful. And the true reason that Poppy is being held a prisoner is because the queen has the Dark One's brother captive. So that goes back to why Hawk is constantly feeling so much pain. And we assumed that it was because, oh, well, his brother had died once we learned that he had one. But he told us a while ago that his brother was not dead. So why is he in so much pain over his brother? And now we know it's because his brother is enduring the same captivity conditions that he did. And what a nightmare.
Yeah.
To know that your brother, your best friend, is undergoing all of that. And to know viscerally and understand what's happening. Not, I intelligently can understand, I know the aspects of what is happening. It's like, no. Happened to him.
Yeah.
And it's awful. And so the plan is that Poppy is going to be traded. So, like they've been saying, there's no sense in hurting her. So if the vampires give them Hawk's brother, Prince Malik, the Dark One gives them Poppy. So at this point, Poppy's entire perception of reality is not even becoming, but is undone.
It's undone. Yeah.
Completely.
And she's realizing, I think from what I picked up when I was reading it, is she's realizing all of the fabrications that the Duchess portrayed to keep Poppy under the regime. I or I guess the Duchess and the Duke, both of them really, but because I feel like the Duchess's relationship was so two-faced with Poppy, like the Duchess was that false sense of security, like the voice in Poppy's head being like, no, it's okay because that she's reassured me that I have a bigger purpose. Like the Duchess was always there to kind of ease the abuse and ease everything else. And I think that portrays uh, the sense of safety through control, like cult or like religion. But that's just
Yeah, no, is for sure. It's an it's a very difficult thing to deconstruct.
it is.
Like from someone that has been ingrained in this religion and cult mentality for so long. And Poppy was never fully, dedicated to it like Tawny
Right.
was. But there's still the control, like you said, like of just growing up in that environment added with the control, the physical control that everyone else around her had over her.
Yeah.
And not only is that being stripped away, so it's like freedom, but also I don't know if I like this freedom so much because, oh my God,
Too much too soon.
yeah, they waterboarded her with her freedom there.
Yeah. Her canvassing for exposure therapy is just progressively getting worse.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Not all forms of therapy work, everybody. She's reflecting and feels terrible for Hawk's treatment while imprisoned. And not everything that she's known could be a lie, though. Like, there's got to be some specks of truth, right? And so Delano and Nail, who is another Atlantean, have arrived to escort her out of her cell to a more comfortable room. And they promise not to touch her as long as she doesn't try anything. And they know that she's dangerous and they respect that. Like, you kind of can't help but like them.
Yeah.
Because like they're kind of not joking with her, but they're not being super official and cold. They're a little warmer to her than you would think. But she is still kind of being escorted from one prison to another, as comfortable as it may be. Lo and behold, Jericho arrives. This bitch. And he is not alone. He's come for Poppy, as well as Mr. Toulis is also there. Who's like, oh, what are you doing here? This faction of revolters do not want Poppy as a prisoner. Instead, they want to send her back to the Ascended / in pieces. A fight ensues, and Nail is knocked out, but Poppy is fighting for her life. Even facing Wolven and Jericho, she manages to keep her wit and slashes Jericho across the face and taking out his eye, which is awesome. So awesome.
I was proud of her for that.
Oh yes. She knows how to deal the good blows.
Yeah.
You know? When she gets ya, she gets ya. And we kind of see that there's a really heavy loyalty that especially, Delano shows because Nail is knocked out. So it's worth saying that Delano's loyalty to uphold the Dark One's commands to not harm her are very present during the conflict with Delano that's about to ensue. Delano is not really tempted to give in to the wave of rage that Delano is really trying to get out of him. And it says a lot about how restrained he is, and he's not easily ruled by his emotions, which is interesting given that he's defending Poppy, who literally reads emotions. So it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So Mr. Toulis appears and literally stabs Poppy in the stomach. Excuse me?
The drum.
Excuse me. I was so scared. I'm like,
Yeah.
We can't lose the FMC. Like, are you kidding?
We're in book one.
So much. She cannot end this way. Are you kidding? And Jericho comes over her dying body and starts describing how he'll want to keep her hand for certain uses and maybe other parts of her too. Fucking disgusting.
So bad.
Disgusting man. But as soon as Jericho is about to end it, he is interrupted, and Kieran stands over her and tells the other to get her to the prince immediately. Oh, what?
So we have royalty here.
So what, he's here? Excuse me? And it's worth noting also that in the midst of all this confrontation, that even with her life being very, very obviously threatened and in immediate danger,
Right.
she still hesitates in going after Mr. Toulis because she sympathizes with him and she understands essentially his motivations. She does not want to kill.
Yeah, she's like, I can't blame you. But we're like, Poppy, get up.
The self-preservation yet again.
Girl, hello.
Oh my gosh. It's the first instance where I've ever seen people pleasing go to such an extreme that it's, oh my gosh.
She got you stabbed.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kieran carries her out to get help, and she knows Hawk is tending to her in this moment, and she knows that she's dying, but he is not going to allow that. So Hawk bites into his own wrist to offer his blood to her, because as long as she drinks his blood, she's going to live. And it's a moment of, like, thinking back, it's like, well, damn, if I do this, I'm turning into a craven. I don't want to do that. And in the midst of all the chaos, she's dying, and Kieran urges Castile to heal her. Wait, what? Who? Poppy still believes that drinking the blood will turn her into a craven, as I said, but drinking his blood will also be, like, kind of one of the, not last puzzle pieces, but one of the first steps in, like, proving and accepting that everything that she's known has been a lie.
Yeah.
Because up until then, it's all been, like, back and forth conversation. There's no, like, actual evidence. Like, okay, prove it to me.
Uh-huh.
Here you go. This is what it is. Wish it could be under better circumstances.
But you gotta move quick.
You know, Hawk begs her to make this choice to live and says, don't force me to make it for you.
So conflicting.
It really is. So he looks into her eyes and tells her to drink for him. She can't help but comply because he just feels everywhere. So she simply drinks from him. To her surprise, the blood tastes good, with, like, snow and citrus. There's no way in any universe I will ever believe that blood tastes good. I don't care what kind of being you are. I simply don't believe it.
That is an
Sorry.
interesting description. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've tried to picture, so I'm like, so it's like a lemon snow cone.
I thought lemon pine sol.
Oh no! Oh, I was thinking more like when you would go outside and when the fresh snow, and you got a snowball and you put the kind it all around. I like it. While she drinks his blood, she seems to have a strange vision, but is quickly pulled out of it as she can hear Hawk telling her to, like, stop drinking. She's taken enough. And she is magically healed. She is not bleeding nor injured. She is no longer dying, which, close to a lot. That was close to everybody. And so we now learn that Hawk has the ability to compel others. And it's one of his powers that appeared when he made his culling. So you know those changes that I kind of generalized last episode? Or earlier? That's what that was. Not only do they get fangs, but they also start to get, like, powers and shit. So his power is he can get people to comply to his orders, which, if you also recall, when Poppy asked him, how did you when he's saying how he found out about the Duke abusing her, he says, I can be very compelling. That cheeky mother.
That's right.
Cheeky motherfucker.
Yeah. Very, very sneaky.
Very, very sneaky, sir. Poppy is concerned about turning into a vampire now, but Hawk explains that there would be to be a more mutual sharing of blood to do that. And he'd need to be a more active participant. How that works? Who knows? Only time will tell if we will find that out. But I'm sure we can imagine what active participant requires. And also, mind you, she would have to be like fully drained and refilled pretty much with his blood. So this was more of a just me to you take my blood just to heal up. Poppy can actually feel his blood coursing through her and within her, and they just happen to be in a bedchamber. It was the heat and love the moment. Suddenly, she feels hot for him, like the night they shared in New Haven hot. But he urges her once again, stop thinking what you're thinking. He's putting up that barrier again, like,
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't you do it, naughty, naughty girl. But she starts feeling herself up. She is filled with lust for this man. And because feeding off blood apparently has a very sexy effect. Not only is she getting hot on herself, she's coming on to Hawk now. And he continues to deny her. It's just the blood. If he were to act on her actions right now and his impulses, she'd hate him forever. And
There we go.
too. We would too. Because
Yeah.
it's like, at what point is it like a intoxication level of consent?
And it's really just a testament to his character too, that even though we're pissed off at him and he's a dirty, rotten liar in our eyes, he's still like using self-control and being like, you're not, you don't want to do this.
Yeah. It's hot and we don't want it to be.
Right.
We're like, no, don't make us like you. No. So instead of giving in to her, he says, but even without my blood in you, I know you've never stopped wanting me. But when I'm deep inside you again, and I will be, you won't be able to blame the influence of blood or anything else. Oh my God.
Like,
Painting.
it's so good.
Painting. Poppy starts to calm down, feeling less horny, less floaty. And Hawk swears that he only means to use her as ransom for the queen to get Prince Malik back.
Buzzkill.
But final pieces begin to click into place. So everyone around him has been following his orders without question. Kieran and others had used his name, like they referred to Hawk like it's a joke to call him that. And Kieran did call him Castile earlier, because it was him. He is Castile, the Dark One. What a motherfucking reveal. Hawk is not only a dissenter, he is actually the motherfucking Dark One.
How the tables turned.
How the turntables, man.
I still have nail marks in my book from that part. I remember clutching and being like, ah!
Technically, he prefers Castile or Cass, which it's like, my supernatural heart was like, don't Cass, don't make me go tell you, like,
yeah.
So there's another truth laid bare. Another piece of proof that he never actually cared for her, because it's like just another layer of a lie.
Yeah.
Like it's awful for her. It sucks. Because not only was he working for the Dark One, he is
This Dark One.
And Poppy fights to get away from him because this truth is breaking a lot harder than the others. This truth broke harder because it was her heart breaking. But not for the first, but the second time. It's like, how much can this poor girl take? How much is too much? She's already tried to kill him once. Like, what else can happen to this poor girl? Oh my God. Give her a cookie or something. So, as her reality yet again crumbles around her, she turns away from Hawk Steel. Like,
whatever his name is.
Hawk Steel, whatever the fuck his name is.
Like different titles now.
Yeah. So she looks down and happens to spot a bloodstone dagger that she happened to be stabbed with previously, and it's just laying on the floor. So on instinct, driven by the love that she had lost for a man that didn't exist, she stabs the dagger into Castiel's chest.
Yes, girl. Yes. I hate it, love it at the same time.
It was wild. Like, oh my God. And, it's in this moment, obviously, we know by now she is a very violent individual in the moment.
Uh-huh.
Like, she is going to act out in violence. However, stabbing. So she apologizes to Hawksteel as she leaves the room, and all he responds with is, no, you're not. And we just can't lose him. We can't. We just absolutely can't. Poppy escapes out of the manor that she's being kept in and runs into the snowy night. She gets to the forest, and before she can decide what to do next, a body slams into her and pulls her to the ground. It's a familiar scent. Just kidding. It's Hawksteel. He's not dead. And I just need to take a moment because I need to have my own lore drop. I know that Carol is just dying of laughter in this moment, listening to this live, because my reaction to this moment, you can say that I'm gullible. I perhaps trust too easily. And so Carol outlines these chapters that she wants us to live react for. And we have a voice chat within the BBC Discord called Amrins, and we all gather in there to do our live read reactions. And so I was in there live reading. This part came up, and I lost my ever-loving shit. I fully believed that he was dead. And at this point, full disclosure, I'm head over heels in love with this man. I know I've been playing it up like we don't like him. I didn't give a shit when he was lying. I didn't give a shit when they captured her. I didn't give a shit when he was treated like... I have never disliked this man. So I was heartbroken. And if you aren't familiar, from flipping from one page to the next, it literally is, she stabs him in the chest and leaves, flips over, the next page he comes back. I didn't even bother flipping the page before having this visceral reaction.
And Carol just eating it up.
Oh my God, I was so immersed in this. I just humbled completely. I wish that we had a recording of it, but
yeah,
what a moment. What a moment. So yeah, Castiel's back. So from now on, we're going to from now on, we're going to call him Castiel. And so he has Poppy held against his chest, and his hand is in her hair. So she's against his chest. So here, chair up against his chest. I have to demonstrate this. And then, so this is Castiel behind me here. His hand is in her hair, pulling her back and to the side. And he's talking right here. The man's so pissed. And he's just got her in such a chokehold, kind of vulnerable. It's very vampy. It's very... Anyway, and he's pissed because he just got stabbed in the chest. He doesn't like that too much. But an Atlantean cannot be killed by a stab to the heart. So it's better to aim for the head. So we get the idea that they have to be decapitated. And Castiel tells Poppy, what's worse yet is you forgot. Forgot it was real. Then proceeds to bite her in the neck. Oh. Holy shit. I exploded. Pushing. I didn't think that I had a vampire that this is the moment where it really clicked that I'm oh, I never really left my Twilight phase, did I?
Absolutely.
Because had you have told me, in the last 5 years, oh yeah, you really have a biting thing. You really enjoy the biting and the vampire kinkiness. I would have been I don't really get it. Not really.
Yeah.
It's your line
The
too.
way I ran to Amazon and clicked add to cart on vampire things, and I'm just going to leave them on my boyfriend's pillow.
Heck yes. Oh, I might have to do the same.
Well,
So the bite burns with fiery pain at first, but is quickly replaced by an achy feeling that runs through her like a molten lava. She starts getting horny again, and so is he. So not only does consuming of the Atlantean blood make you horny, but being bitten also makes you horny. Everything is horny. And cool. I'm not complaining. So he's biting and drinking from her, and he asks her if she wants more. And because she needs to tell him, she says more, and he's on her. This time, much different from the last. He tears her pants free, as well as her shirt, and is completely bare to him in the snow. You'd think, wow, that's got to be cold. I say, who fucking cares? This, like I said, this time is much different from the last because last time was very slow, it was gentle, it was intimate. This time it's intense, devouring, but he does stop in the midst of it all and says he has one request. She needs to say his name, like his real name, because she has yet to acknowledge him by Castile. She does not. Instead, she flips him onto his back and starts riding him. Hot.
She said, "You're not going to tell me what to do."
And once again, they have this moment because, like, yeah, this is her second time having sex.
Yeah.
This is like, what does one do on top, you know?
Right.
And once again, he does the same thing of like literally anything you can do. And I present to you again. Is it the man thing? Is it the thing? Because
we shall revisit our evidence presented to the court.
Food for thought. They have their moment. They finish. It's wonderful. And he starts gathering their things since, you know, it is kind of snowing out and it's pretty cold and not ideal without the proper outerwear. And I just need to back it up real quick. And we need to take another moment to talk about this biting because
Oh, yeah.
It's exquisite.
Yeah. Not only is it insanely hot, but for me, looking back throughout the book from this scene and then looking at other scenes, fighting in general and within the animal kingdom, I think is a claim of dominance, right? So, in true feral fashion, this action that he does to Poppy leads us to this intimate moment with them. And it's almost like she's finally just submitting to her full primal side. Like she's not hesitant like she has been in previous scenes with him with the willow tree, even though that was just like kind of dancing around. But even their first smut scene of them finally having sex. And then the whole positioning, like she's literally just taking full control.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to do it than riding on top? I mean,
sound to me.
Yeah.
Sound logic. And we all can also recall that if you read the book, that Poppy has a couple times felt a sharp point like graze her neck when they first had sex because he was holding back from feeding off of her in that moment. Once again, the restraint on this man is impeccable. And he was still hiding his identity. But now all bets are off and he is 2 teeth deep.
Yep.
As he acts like what just happened wasn't totally confusing because it's like, I just stabbed you and then you came and stabbed me, but with your dick. Poppy asks why he isn't mad. And his response is, why would he be? What?
I'm sorry, what?
What? She notices his stab wound is pretty much healed, but still kind of fresh. And she moves with her gift to heal it further. Because remember, she can kind of also, she has healing properties with her gift. So she taps into both the physical and mental pain, where she kind of sends that intimate moment. She usually sends like the sandy beach scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in this one, she's really just sending him the image of them having sex, which is unheard of. She's never done that in both
Yeah.
senses.
Yeah. It's really quite cute because it's like, even though he's completely destroyed her life, essentially, uh, she's still able to share those, and consider those moments happy moments,
Uh-huh.
and tender moments that she holds special. So after healing him, they start to move back inside. But oh no, her pants are torn away. So as a solution, he sweeps her into his arms to carry her. Like anything this man does, we love it. Even when we hate it, we still love it. He tells her that he's taking her home to Atlantia.
To Atlantia. We're going to Atlantia.
Yeah, like, I'm
What?
sorry, what? You mean this place that's supposed to be like extinct?
Right. Right.
It's real? Poppy refuses to acknowledge Castile's name and gets into a question competition with Kieran, but he smirks at her pretty quick. And it feels like a different kind of banter. Like this, while she banters with Castile, that's one thing. This feels a little different. So like we got our eyes on you, Kieran. We see you. Okay. He informs her that the mist beyond the Skotos Mountains, which we can see here with our lovely map, may not contain Craven, but it certainly isn't natural either. So that mist is definitely there for a reason. Perhaps as a defense mechanism for Atlantia. He refuses to answer that question, though, by again asking another question. To Poppy's mortification, and quite honestly our own, Kieran can smell Castile on her, but not because she's wearing his shirt. Rachel, what are we feeling about all these males being able to smell evidence of our sexual escapades?
It's very invasive. It's very tapping into my privacy. I did not give you permission.
Yeah. It's like, natural senses or not, animalistic or not,
Rude.
you at least, you don't have to comment on it then, at least, okay? If you smell it, whatever. It's like smelling a fart in public. You smell it and you're like, dang, whoever did that, all right, you saw, moving on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta pass over, but no, of course not. He's gotta mention like, oh yeah, you guys, I can smell.
By the way.
So, understandably, Poppy goes to take a bath to scrub all of that away and reviews all of the truths and thoughts that she has just heard. All in all, she accepts what Castile has told her as truth and then starts to think about her own life and her feelings for him. Once again, we get confirmation that she loves him. Like, she finally uses the L word. But she doesn't trust him. So she loves him, but does not trust him. That's a little complicated. Sort that one into the MySpace relationship status of it's complicated.
Yep.
It's like, Alexa, play It's Complicated by Avril Lavigne. She dozes off, thinking of possible escape plans, and is awoken by Kieran sometime later. And the thing is, like, Poppy's in the bath, and Kieran just comes in just to check on her, because it's like, she has been in there a while, so yeah, I can understand why he'd want to check on her. But Poppy questions how Castile would feel about Kieran seeing Poppy in a bathtub, naked. And Kieran responds that, yeah, he probably wouldn't be too happy about it. He'd also be intrigued. By
What an odd thing to say.
by her being naked in the tub, or by Kieran being there with Poppy naked in the tub?
Yeah. Like,
Okay. Remember that Wolven and Atlanteans were said to have a special bond between them. We don't really know what that special bond is at this point. And Kieran leaves Poppy to finish her bath. saying that she should care about what Castile wants because he wants you, even though he knows better, even though he knows it will end in yet another tragedy.
Well, that's unsettling.
Yeah, like, yowza,
Why you gotta be a damper?
right?
Why?
Poppy is locked in her bedroom, but it's not a cell, but it's still locked, so it is kind of a cell. It's just kind of comfy. And she reflects on while she loves Castile, he is still the Dark One. He is the evil guy. He's done bad things and has blood on his hand. But on the other hand, don't the Ascended. They're feeding on children. I'd say that makes them a bit worse. We don't know who, Castile has been killing, but it can't be worse than innocent.
Said that.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
She falls into a deep sleep again and wakes up to a soft touch on her cheek because she just continues to be so gentle with her. Castile's back, and it's so cute.
We're offered such this like soft and gentle moment between them where she's not like startling out of sleep, where if you had been what she had just been through, I would feel like any little movement would kind of trigger you into this state of fear when waking. But no, she's like on a cloud nine. It's almost like portrayed natural between that two of them. And then again, there's like a showcase of dominance because he just glides his hand near to bite.
Mm. They immediately start bantering over her not caring about him. Lies, obviously. They talk about him biting her, and how he kind of feels guilty about it. He has come to escort her to dinner to discuss what happens next, and Poppy chooses to be difficult, as she does, and we love her for it. They are enemies after all, even if she does love him. And enemies and lovers, enemies to lovers, I don't know.
And
That's great. There's just something about hating the person you love.
Yep.
And hating each other. He knows that she wants to fight with him, but he won't let her starve herself in the process. He tells her, I want you to, princess. I enjoy it. Like, he just loves pushing her buttons. Like, she's made a point to tell him, don't call me princess. He's like, it's a nickname and I'm sticking with it. She says he's twisted and there's something wrong with him. He necessarily does not disagree. His terms for her capture are very peculiar, as in she has the choice to fight him both physically and verbally, but he'll never prevent her from defending herself. But he also won't allow her to harm herself in an attempt to prove a point that she won't be used. So, like,
got it.
For what? She's not to him if she's dead. And at this point, he needs to show his people that she is not to be harmed and is indeed under his direct protection. So they enter the common area, and Poppy sees an absolutely horrific sight. There are bodies lining the wall. Their arms are outstretched, and their hands are pinned by spikes, with either an additional spike through their head or chest, sometimes both. These are the bodies of those who attacked and tried to kill her. Every one of them is dead, besides Jericho. And guess who killed them all? Castile. Now, his people will know what will happen if they try to come after Poppy. He told her he'd make them pay, and there's so many different ways to interpret this.
So many.
Holy shit.
So many. Yeah.
It translates innumerable levels. So, yeah, it's like he's proving to her that he's following through on promises.
Okay.
He is, like very much loyalty, showcasing that the oath that he's taken, like, hey, I take this shit seriously. I'm not just saying don't touch her just because don't touch her because she's my pet or some shit. It's like,
Yeah, like, he is
no,
not meant to be taken lightly.
yeah. It's like, it's kind of, he is the ruler and he's putting his foot down. Like, you disagree with me? This is what happened. Or not disagree, but you disobey me. This is what happens.
Yeah,
And it is kind of frightening to see how brutal he is because it's like, this is kind of on par with what the Ascended would do. It's like, oh, you went against what we wanted. We're just going to kill you publicly.
yeah,
Or humiliate you publicly in some way. So it's like, oh, is that red flag? Is it yellow flag?
yeah. It's hard to discern a little bit.
You could say it's a gray flag. Because we love morally gray men.
Let him.
Poppy is shocked by this sight. And because Mr. Toulis is up there, he is dead right alongside all of them. And all he wanted was to save his last child. That's all that he wanted to do. And when not given the ability to do that, he made the next decision that he thought was logical and went after what the Ascended hold most dear. And it's Poppy. And while she may be shocked, what disturbs her the most is that she doesn't feel bad for them. So it's very similar to after she's killed Lord Mazine. She's like, I can't believe I did that, but I don't feel bad about what I did.
Right.
So it's like being shocked by your own power, really,
Yeah.
especially in such a violent, deadly manner. Castile urges her to continue eating because tomorrow they leave for home. But it isn't Poppy's home. Or is it? Because Castile comments on how he didn't figure it out sooner. How had she survived the Craven attack as a child? Why was she chosen as the maiden? What explains her gifts? It's probably because Poppy is not mortal. At least not completely. She is part Atlantean. Oh, wow. Oh.
Another game changer.
Yeah, I don't see disturbing whatsoever either.
Yeah, and he makes this statement that every so often, child of both kingdoms is born, both mortal and Atlantean. Shit.
Yeah. So he knew it as soon as he tasted her blood in that earlier scene in the forest when they were fucking in the snow. So this now raises a whole bunch of new questions about how her whole life was a lie. Are her parents her full-blooded parents? Is Ian her biological brother? Like Castile, which she's finally internally acknowledging his name at this point, has had eyes on Ian for months, actually. He reveals this. So there's reports that Ian is alive, but he is never seen in daylight, which means he is a vampire. Or most likely, he is a vampire. And Poppy may have been the chosen because of her half-Atlantean blood. So things are starting to connect a bit here. Like, after all, the only way to make a vampire is by drinking Atlantean blood.
Right.
So where we originally thought, once finding out about the Ascended being vampires, oh no, they're just going to use Poppy as a cattle for slaughter or something. When in reality, they may very well have known that she was half Atlantean, and we're just going to use her to continue turning other people into vampires as well. So she was going to be put right in the situation that Castile was in, and that the Prince Malik is currently in. Just like slaves upon tortures upon slaves, and just so fucking sad. Kieran asks Castile why they plan to go back to Atlantia because it's farther from where his brother is being held. You would think that they were about to turn back or try to meet up with reinforcements and then go get his brother back. But Castile says, did you know that an Atlantean can only marry if both halves are standing on the soil of their land? We go home to marry, my princess. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. At that point, it was the 22 Jump Street meme for me when when Channing Tatum, you just, oh shit, oh shit. I was just like, just the deeper details of like, we've grown so comfortable with the princess thing.
And it's like a game of chess. Like it was just so much deeper than that
Yeah,
because he's a prince.
literally.
It all makes sense.
And with that, From Blood and Ash, the book is been the end. That's one. But what an incredible introduction to this series.
Yeah. Like this is book one.
It's literally book one and so much has happened.
Yeah.
But it's such a fun ride. It's, like we said, it's very lore heavy, but generally manages to eventually wrap everything around that makes it easier to kind of, hold in your brain as you go. Like it expands as you read versus it being like, hey, here's this thing and here's everything about it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pick more up on it as you move along. And I also I love the writing. I love the story. I love the characters. It's fantastic.
It was absolute roller coaster. Absolute roller coaster. I loved Poppy's development through this entire book. I would say I loved Hawk Steele's, but we're like just now meeting him, right? So we're just, we can't really judge him. I loved him and then I hated him and then I loved him again and then I hated him again. Then I was left like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Poppy's development of like literally being in chains in a sense and then breaking out of them, kind of. We don't really know. Like made it out of Macedonia. Now she's kind of free, but not really because she's being married.
Yeah. So not that we adhere to the terminology of the ball and chain, but as the stereotypical like sad marriage, ball and chain. It's like, right. So it's a marriage that she doesn't want. So yes, she is being chained to this man at this point. So we will just have to wait and see and finds out what comes of this wedding, of this pairing. Can't wait to see what Atlantia is like.
I know.
And before we wrap it all up, I wanted to throw out some more fan art for everybody. So we have this first image from @MariaCelto, and this is just a depiction of Hawk and Poppy in the snow, or Castile and Poppy in the snow, right before they get down and dirty with it, and it's just so yummy to look at. Next, we have another, it's more of a throwback to the first half of the book, where it's Poppy and Castile while Poppy is still veiled. And this one is from @MadSchofield. Huge Mad Schofield fan here.
We love
all of your Throne of Glass art, your ACOTAR art. We adore you. And if you at some point make more From Blood and Ash art, we would be forever thankful and
love it.
At your knees for it, because it's beautiful. Your art is beautiful. This last piece of art is going to be showcasing Kieran, our most recent kind of new character that will be reappearing as we go. And this is by @NatalieBernardArt. And I love this photo of Kieran. I think it gets across very well. I also just love the design with the wolf in the background, like silhouettes him. And so it shows the two sides of him as woven. And we're going to find out more about Kieran. He's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future of the second book, we shall say. And just another moment to shout out, like, sorry we can't find any art about Tawny. Same thing with Kieran. It is too scarce, everybody. Too scarce. Any digital artists out there, regular, physical artists, get you them, we need them, we want them, we want to see them, and we love them. It's beautiful being able to see these characters brought to life in such individual and creative ways. So definitely keep creating. We love to see it. So that's going to be all for this week's episode. And so join us next time where we are going to be starting the next From Blood and Ash book. Remind me of what the name of that book is again, because I'm already forgetting.
It is Kingdom of Flesh and Fire.
Thank you. Let's go. We are, obviously, we've read it already. We know what's about to happen. Strap the fuck in, is all I'm going to say.
You're going to get bumpy.
Very, very bumpy.
Going Dukes of Hazzard.
Gotta love it. Well, thanks for coming by. We are Rachel and Megan for Blood, Oats, and
Binge-Watching.
You're gonna get it eventually. We're gonna get it synced.
Goodbye.